Hey guys, Takamasaki here, and welcome back to Book Chat! This week I went through Amy Schumer's book, The Girl with the Lower Back Tattoo. And you know what they say about that, and she has plenty of fun poking at that. If you're unfamiliar with who Amy Schumer is a comedian, but I hadn't heard of her before maybe late 2014. I'm sure she's been around before that. She talked about a lot of in her book about where she started. I can't remember the whole timeline, but she did the normal thing of like going through the little clubs and getting into bigger clubs and going on tour with other comedians and what have you, which seems pretty much like the norm. Amy Schumer, if you haven't seen her stand up, she talks a lot about adult things such as sex, and her sex life isn't isn't afraid to talk about that in her book, especially in her stand-up comedy. If you see, I'm pretty sure you could go find clips of it on YouTube if you're interested in that kind of thing. It's different to hear a woman talking about this. I mean, honestly, a little bit refreshing. We seem to live in a society where girls aren't really allowed to talk about that, but the guys can. I think it's all stupid, but she yeah, there's definitely no shortage of that in the book, but she does go through. Well, I'll stick to that topic for now. She does a lot of like girl empowerment stuff in the book. How she talked about a lot of her relationships where she was basically abused. She was mentally abused by her mother, sexually abused by certain boyfriends, physically abused by certain boyfriends. Um, she goes through a lot of that, and it would be nice to. I mean, it is nice to have her talk about it, and maybe even if it helps somebody, like, hey, this is what this is, clearly defined. If any of these things are happening to you, GTFO, you know? I like that message in her book that she gives to girls. Unfortunately, it's a little above where I would consider having my kid read it. I would definitely be much older before reading this, probably 16 to 18 years old, even though they're probably experienced with that kind of terminology beforehand. Never had a daughter that old, so I don't know when they start learning that stuff. It's been a long time since I was that age. Um, yeah, she goes into detail about her relationships, how she was dating this guy who she really loved, or she thought she loved, and then they would get together and this dude would kind of like go crazy and like grab her arm and leave bruises and stuff like that. And just the fact that she kept getting back together with him, and she even mentions in hindsight, yeah, that was a really stupid thing to do. But love makes you do stupid things, unfortunately. But yeah, she goes through a lot of her sex life. Like I said, if you've seen on any of her stand-up skits, you know that already. But I'm glad that wasn't all of the book. She does a lot of that, like I said, in her stand-up, and I did watch one of her shows. I can't remember the title of it off the top of my head, but I just remembered she talked a lot about that. And regardless of who the comedian is, I get kind of bleh after a while just hearing the same topic discussed over and over. But she didn't hit it too hard in the book. I mean, I can't I'm kind of contradicting myself when I say, yeah, she didn't hit it too hard, but there was a lot of it in the book. Don't listen to me. What do I know? Anyway, the part I found more interesting when she was talking about getting started as a comedian and just the whole process of doing the little clubs, and yeah, people would laugh out of pity, and she eventually got up to the clubs where there's like other comedians there in the audience who are also trying to make it, and she just completely bombed. I've always thought about doing that kind of thing, but it's just no, I don't want to do it. Just no. But I was really interested to hear about her family life. There was a lot of stuff that went down in her family life, which kind of seems like a lot of not necessarily maybe comedians. I guess you could say they all have everybody's parents messes them up somehow. I'm sure my kids will be looking at this someday and just be on. So, um, so you guys, I'm sorry. Whatever I did, I apologize. Um, but yeah, it talks about her growing up with her sister. I can't remember her sister's name off the top of my head for some reason. My memory is not quite working. Just them hanging out and what they used to do to pass the time. She used to steal stuff back in the day, and she, remember her bringing her sister into like Bloomingdale's, and they just tried to steal an ungodly amount of stuff, and they ended up getting busted. And I don't think she never ended up going to jail for it, but she had it was like an ungodly list of things that she was trying to sneak out, and her strategy was to like take two outfits into the same room and I guess put one on under her street clothes and then take the other one out. I'm not condoning that type of activity, and she doesn't either. But it was fun to hear about her childhood and all of her past relationship experiences. She talks a lot about her mother, both her mother and her father. I believe she said were married 3 times, and she realized in the past like how emotionally controlling her mom was throughout this whole thing. She kind of was really attached with her mom and not so attached. She loved her dad, but she wasn't as attached, so she kind of was on that side of that divorce. Her mom left her dad for, I believe this girl's name was Mia. Like they were, I believe she said they were best friends at the time. She left her dad for Mia's dad, and that kind of destroyed that friendship. And obviously, Mia didn't handle it well, and Amy seemed to be more or less okay with it and try to be super supportive. And I completely agree with her on that. The kids should not be supporting the parents, as I think I can say in any possible way, unless I need a push in my wheelchair when I'm 80. But not for emotional support, at least, right? I mean, don't rely on your kids for that. She even brings that up. Um, yeah, she went through a lot of that, and she was also dealing with the same at the same time dealing with her father. She said her father and her sister went to this amusement park, and her sister talked her into going on this roller coaster, and the father just, I can't remember his name. I thought it started with a C. Like, nah, I won't even guess. But anyway, they kept going on this roller coaster because there's no lines. And one of the times she looked out, and her father wasn't there anymore. And they were kind of wondering, okay, so they went on it a few more times, and they come out, and they were kind of looking for the dad, or their dad, and eventually they found him. He was walking towards them with no pants on and a shirt that was wet from like the waist down, but it went farther down to cover everything. It turns out he had lost control of his bowels, and like she says, she shit him. He shit himself. That wasn't the only story about that. It ends. She ends up explaining why that happened later in the book is because her father started suffering from MS. So, which, if anybody knows anything about that, it slowly deteriorates your physical functions. Obviously, in her father's case, even control of your bowels. So you just go. That's yeah. So really crappy. And then it was really funny the way she set it up, and she did it jokingly, and even joked with her father about it. I can't remember where this was. I want to say it was at like one of her performances or something like that. But something like they were in a hallway and there were people passing by this other hallway, and the same thing happened to her dad, where he just had to go instantly. Oh, she was going off somewhere. I think it was on her last comic standing tour before she went off to Los Angeles. I think that's my best guess for that. But anyway, he had to like take off his pants, and she explains watching her father squat in the hallway and just liquid shit all over the place for about 30 seconds straight, which is extremely embarrassing, or it would be extremely embarrassing. But she explains how she was just very supportive. Anybody looking down the hall, she pretty much just told him to f off. And I mean, there's nothing he can do about that, unfortunately. But not saying that to laugh, but she did joke around with it and ended up giving him a pair of one of her shorts or something like that to put on. But but yeah, I just found it interesting to learn her backstory and her family's backstory. She left off not long after that chapter, if I recall correctly. She had brought her dad to this doctor in New York where they were going to do like stem cell treatments on him that they say at least would get him to walk again, or at worst possible scenario, get him walking again. But I I don't think they ever heard. It must have been recent because I don't remember anything after that about her dad. It was really sad listening to her like, yeah, we used to go bodyboarding and stuff, and this we went out the last time when the MS was really starting to kick in, and it's like, yeah, we'll do this one last time before the MS claims my legs and I'm no longer able to walk, and that's kind of sad to watch your parents deteriorate like that. Um, so yeah, there's no shortage of heartbreak in Amy Schumer's past. Uh, I think I'll leave it there for now. There's obviously a ton more in the book, but I don't want to give any more of it away. I don't believe. It she. I really need to stop saying I can't help it when I'm talking to myself for 12 minutes. But she again. But she did a fantastic job with this book, self-narrated. If I didn't say that, of keeping my interest throughout. I've read books by other comedians in the past where I just kind of zone out because I I don't know, but stop it. But yeah, if you're a fan of Amy Schumer, I would definitely grab this book and just give it a read. If you're looking for honestly, I liked it more than her stand-up special. I'll give it that much. Not that she's not funny in her stand-up, but I like more of hearing the background and all the stuff that maybe isn't so sexual and all the regular day-to-day stuff she went through and all of her past relationships with her parents and her sister and her friends and what all became of that kind of stuff. I like backstory, I suppose you could say. So that was Amy Schumer's book, The Girl with the Lower Back Tattoo, and she explains how she got that and why. And that'll probably be it for this one. So I will see you in the next book review. This is Takamasak, and I'll see you later.